Hello, besties and bosses. Happy Monday. How was everyone's weekend? We've got Instagram with us as well, so we're hanging out duo live. I was just saying on Instagram I had a great weekend. Hey, Cobean House Quilts. I don't know how everyone else's weekend was, but I feel like I had a very great weekend just of clearing a bunch of stuff. I did a great energy, what do you call it? Emotional energy healing intensive with Manisha, who's in our group. I'll have to tag her. And that I had a great masterminding Sunday with girlfriends. So I feel like I spent a lot of time getting focused, getting clear, and also getting rid of stuff that no longer serves me. And that's what I want to talk about a bit today because I think most of you know I love goal setting. I think goals are incredible. I think they're really powerful. What is the stat? I think the stat is something like 4% of Americans set goals, and of that 4% of people, they make exponentially more money than those who don't set goals. So goals in our business are incredibly important, and incredibly important if we want to have a business that is lucrative, that we're making money from. And yet, I think there is a dark side to goals. I think sometimes goals can be a very sneaky form of self-sabotage, and that's what I want to talk about today, because I find this comes up a lot with my clients. And I have a feeling this is probably coming up for some of you if you are in this group hanging out with me. So if you are a high achiever, hey, Angelina, nice to have you here with us. Thank you all for joining. We are just getting started. Say hello as well on Facebook if you're joining. And let me know as we're going through this, if this clicks with you, if you've ever experienced this. I think this is something that can be, as always, I like having a conversation. I don't want to just talk at you. I want to talk about this. I think this is a good thing to have a conversation around. Because I think a lot of us know, we hear make goals, they're so important. And I don't think a lot of us are talking about how goals can actually get us in our own way, how they can become a form of sabotage. So hands raised if you're a high achiever, if you're a type A personality, if you're someone who's a go-getter, if you're someone who likes to set goals. Hey Vic, thank you for joining. It's so nice to have y'all here. Let me know if you are someone who likes the goals, likes the goal setting. I know I do. And let me know if you're someone who likes goal setting if you have more than 2 or 3 big goals that you're focused on. Hey Manisha, I just shouted you out. Manisha's with us. I just gave you a huge shout out, so you'll have to re-listen to the replay where I gave you a whole bunch of live. Hey Vic, thank you for the waves. I need goals. Well, we're going to talk about what kind of goals to set today. So you are in the perfect live stream for this. Manisha says, oh yay. And I know who just joined on Facebook. Say hello. Patty says, I get distracted easily. I'd love to hear, Patty, do you get distracted by goals in general or just distracted easily? Because that's something I want to talk about specifically, but I'd love to hear what comes up for you around that. So what I find happens for a lot of us is we set goals, we have really good intention, we've read some blog posts, we've heard some great things about goals, and especially if we're high achievers, if we're driven, if we're action oriented, we can get a little overzealous and create this shit ton of goals and get really, as Patty's saying, distracted. And I think sometimes our goals can be a very sneaky way that we procrastinate. I think they can be a sneaky form of fear. I think sometimes they can be a sneaky way that our limiting beliefs show up. And I think sometimes they can be a lack of clarity. But I think they're sneaky because I think goal setting feels really good for a lot of us. I think a lot of us, and tell me if you're someone who loves making a long list and checking it off. I know I do. There's nothing I love more than writing goals down and checking them off and having that satisfaction of like crossing that goal off the list, which is great. However, when we aren't being clear and when we aren't being disciplined with ourselves around goals, and I don't love the word discipline, but we're going to use it here, what I find happens is we can use this as a really great excuse to get busy making lists about goals. Suddenly, instead of taking action, we're creating this long list of goals. Let me just see what's happening on here. The Patty Project says, just distracted easily. Without goals, I'm all over the place. I've got a thumbs up from Cobean House Quilts, raising hands from Manisha. The Patty Project says, yes, lack of clarity. That's a perfect way to explain it. Hey, nice to see you, Urban 20-something. You go, girl, she says. Thank you. So nice to have you here. You all should check out her page as well. She's got some great content over there. And you just got back to New York City. Welcome back. Welcome back in town from Israel, I think. Now I'm getting distracted, y'all. So going back to goals, so I think let's start with the lack of clarity. I think that's one of the things. I think this stems from a few different ways. When goals become, we're talking about the dark side of goals, when goals go from being something that's really productive and something that gets us into that 4% of people who do make more income. Remember, 4% of people are making goals, 4% of them are following through and actually making more income as a result of those goals. And then when goals become all sorts of form of sabotage and distraction. And if you're on Facebook, say hey. I know I see a couple faces there, but you guys know that sometimes, y'all know that sometimes I see the comments late. She said, oh, Urban 20 something says, I did. So she's back. So what I find, we'll start with lack of clarity. So again, I think this is comes from lack of clarity. I think sometimes these are sneaky fears. Sometimes these are some limiting beliefs showing up. And I think this can be a really big way that we sabotage. So in terms of lack of clarity, sometimes when we aren't clear on what we want in our business, what we want to do, or we're not clear on the tasks, the strategy we need to take, or, and this is where some of that fear can come in, when we don't really believe in the strategy we're taking, when we don't really believe in the actions we're taking, what can feel really good in the moment is to create a laundry list of goals, to create, instead of a few really focused goals, to create 35 goals or 25 goals, because that feels a lot better, especially if we're someone who derives some of our self-esteem from that busyness, from taking action, which I find a lot of high achievers, we derive some of our self-worth from those goals, from being busy. I think society also tells us the busier we are, the more successful we are, or the more important we are. And so if we have this long list of goals, it can feel really good. However, it can really cause us to not the greatest results in our business. They've actually done some studies. When we have more than, let me find the stats I pulled up on this for y'all. When we have more than 2 to 3 goals, the results we get actually start to go down. So they found in teams of businesses, when you have, I think it's, here we go, here's the stats I found. So if a team has 2 to 3 goals, they're more likely to follow through on those 2 to 3 goals and actually achieve them. When, however, they have 10 goals, and I think what most of us think is 2 to 3 goals are good, 10 goals is better, right? 10 goals means I'm going to get more stuff done. I'm going to achieve more in my business. Except for what they have found in studies is when they have, a team has 10 goals, they're more likely to achieve 1 to 2 of those goals. So suddenly we've gone to achieving all 2 to 3 goals to achieving 1 to 2 of 10 goals. And here is what's fascinating. When a team has 11 goals, they achieve none of them. And what I think is mind-blowing about this is, I think for most of us, especially again those type A's, the driven, the high achiever types, which I fall into, most of my clients fall into, we think more is better. We think 11 goals means I'm going to get 11 things done. I'm going to get 11 times more results in my business. And what we're finding is it doesn't even mean, or what's the quote, like shoot for the stars or shoot for the moon, fall amidst the stars. I think we think that way about our goals. Shoot for the stars with our goals and we'll fall, shoot for the moon with our goals, we'll fall amidst the stars. But what really happens is when we're shooting for the moon with our goals and we're piling too much onto our plate, we're not even achieving half of it. We're not even achieving a quarter of those goals. We're achieving none of them. And I think we've all experienced this. We have this long list of goals and what happens? We get overwhelmed, we bury our head in the sand and we do nothing. Or, and this is where I find, especially for the entrepreneurs in the group, where this is really important, what happens is the most important things that move our business forward get ignored. So if we have this long list of goals, what we're doing is we're focusing on those few things that really don't move our business forward, but they feel easy. And they're easy to tackle when there's a long list of things to do. Versus those few goals we really need to focus on and take action on that's actually going to create a result in our business, that's actually going to generate income, connect with a new client, generate a sale. The Patty Project says 2 goals for me works on a day. Otherwise, I'm overwhelmed. Yes. So what Patty is saying is brilliant because that is actually what I recommend. I think what you're saying is just really speaking to what we're actually capable in any given day. So I talk about I always say his name wrong, Dr. Ned, I think it's Hallowell. He has a great interview with Marie Forleo. If you Google his name with Marie Forleo, you'll find the interview. He talks a lot about exactly what Patty's saying. He talks about 2 to 3 goals a year, 2 to 3 goals a quarter, 2 to 3 goals a month, and 2 to 3 goals a day. And using that as our lens, our focus for the goals we're focusing our time and energy on. Anymore, we tend to get distracted, and these studies are finding not only are we distracted and overwhelmed, but we're not achieving as much. The Patty Project says, I love Marie. Me too. She does some really great work. I gotta say, she's one of my inspirations. Facebook, do we have any comments here? I want to make sure I'm not ignoring Facebook. I don't think so, though. So that's just in terms of what we want to focus on, and that's in terms of the clarity and the clarity piece of this. But let's dig into some of the mindset portion of this. Actually, let's just talk about the clarity one more bit here. I think what happens as well when we don't really have clarity is it feels a lot better to, they talk about this all the time. It's the throwing spaghetti at the wall method. I don't really know what I need to do. I don't really know what's going to work. So if I just fling a bunch out at the wall, hopefully something will stick. And I find this, any of my clients are watching, you're all going to think I'm talking about you. I'm not. I love you all, but I think almost all of us fall into this at some point in our business. And I have one client who I am speaking about her particularly when she started working with me not too long ago. Not only did she have a laundry list of goals, but she had a laundry list of offers. I think she had 15 offers, something like that, which is similar to goals. Those are goals in our business. And I had to challenge her to focus on one. And here's what's fascinating. As we stripped away everything and focused her in on one goal in her business, one offer. Now she has a tier, so it's about 2 to 3 exactly. But as we focused in, there was so much clarity that was formed. The reason there were so many offers, so many goals in her business is she didn't really have clarity on who her people were, what her marketing was, what strategy, what she wanted to do. And as we focused in, it was like magic. The discovery calls started coming in really quickly for her. Consultation calls, for those of you who don't use the term discovery calls. So just really fascinating to see in terms of business how that clarity in getting narrowed in and focused in is for us, but also for our audience. That creates a narrowed in focus for our audience, so they get really clear as well in terms of the goal we're creating for them, what we're offering for them, and it creates the results then revenue-wise, the results in terms of connecting with our clients. Does that make sense, y'all? Let me know if what I'm saying is making sense in terms of that results piece. Hey, Rachel, nice to have you. Rachel Ritchie is amazing. She's on Facebook Live with us. Y'all should check out some of her content. It's incredible. Shouting out everyone today because I'm just very, very inspired and impressed by everyone in this group on Instagram. You all make me very happy, and I love having a conversation around this. So the other thing I find, so clarity is one piece, but I find when we have too many goals, the other thing that comes up a lot is fears and some of those beliefs, those stories, those limiting beliefs that we all have. So oftentimes when we're piling a bunch of goals on our list and we have more than 2 to 3, the reason this is a sneaky form of sabotage, yes, it's causing overwhelm. Yes, it's causing some of that frustration. Yes, it's causing some of that burnout. But a lot of times what we're doing is we're buffering. We're avoiding parts of our lives that we don't want to deal with because it feels really good to be busy. If we have maybe emotions we don't want to deal with, if we have parts of our lives we don't want to deal with, let me tell you, it can be so much more comfortable for us high achiever types to bury on the busy work. The other thing that can happen is when we aren't really feeling fully secure in the strategy we're using or fully secure in the work that we're offering, or it feels really scary to go all in one offer in our business, or go all in on one strategy, or go all in on one goal, it's a lot more comfortable to have a bunch of other stuff going on, to have a bunch of shiny objects that are distracting us, because we also then have a really great excuse when we don't get the results we want. It can make us feel a lot better to say, well, I didn't actually get those results, but it's not my fault because look at all this shit I was trying to do, versus I put everything in. I just went all in on this one goal, or I went all in on these 2 or 3 goals. I put everything into it. Y'all, that's terrifying. I think, let's use dating as an example. Always great to look at things outside of business, I think. That's sort of like when we date a whole bunch of people versus going all in on one person. as much as most of us say we want to go all in on one person and commit to one person, that can be really scary. We're putting all our eggs in one basket. We have to get really vulnerable. We have to get really intimate with them. It can bring up a lot of stuff for us. And so I think a lot of us will sabotage our chances in a relationship by throwing spaghetti at the wall and just seeing if we just dabble with dating, how that works for us. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you who just joined. We've got Charlotte, Smiled, Playful. I can never read on Instagram. The text is too small for my eyes, y'all. Playful, Full Tantra. Thank you all for joining. Let me know if this is clicking with you. Would love to hear if this is all making sense in terms of when our goals become some sabotage. So that happens, I think, with dating. If we take that same idea and we apply it to business, it's very much the same thing. Going all in on 2 to 3 goals, going all in on 2 to 3 offers, going all in on one thing, which I know I have talked about over and over and over again. Y'all are probably sick of hearing me talk about it, but that requires a lot of courage from us. That requires a lot of strength in our mindset. That really requires us to decide that something's going to go work, that we're going to decide that we're going to go all in on something. It requires a lot of confidence and owning our self-worth versus saying, well, let me just see what happens if I try a bunch of other stuff. Let me just see what happens with, I don't know, a bunch of all these things. And if this doesn't work, then I can work on this. Or if I don't really focus on this, then I don't have to feel bad. I'm just seeing if we have any other comments, y'all. And I think this is a way that I see a lot of us, especially the high achievers, really sabotage our success, really sabotage our businesses, and really sabotage our income. There is a huge difference, and we're hearing from these studies, there's a huge difference that happens when we go from wide into narrow. So this is the same with, if we think about every avenue of our business, this is with goals, this is with our to-do list, this is with the tasks we're doing. This is the same with our niche, how do you all say that? Niche. This is the same with our niche, narrowing in who our ideal clients are, what our offers are, and even when it comes down to our marketing and our strategy, what strategy are we focusing on? What action steps are we taking each week? If we can really be courageous and focus even those small things, get clarity on exactly that, and focus on 2 to 3 of those per week, per month, we're going to see our results triple, quadruple. The clients I have, I think some of you, a couple weeks ago, I was sharing one of my clients who hit, in 1 month, she hit the revenue that she used to make in a year. So in 1 month, she hit 115K, and she used to make that in a year. And I will tell you, we had a conversation recently, what she attributes that to more than anything is exactly what we're talking about here. Narrowing way in, focusing way in on her goals and her strategy, and going all in, doubling down on one strategy. And so I think for all of us here, I'm bringing this back full circle to the beginning of the conversation and just what this weekend inspired for me, is taking a look at our goals, seeing where some of our goals are actually forms of sabotage, where they're weeds popping up in our garden that we need to tend, our business garden, weeding them out and really focusing in. And I think what we can think about are, I call them stop doing goals. So instead of having so many goals we want to do, where can we actually stop doing certain goals? This is where less becomes more, more becomes less. No, less becomes more. This is where doing less becomes more. So it's not about necessarily showing up less. It's not necessarily about actually doing less. It's about having a narrowed focus. This is, I don't know if anyone's read Essentialism, Greg McKeown's book. I love it. He talks about this all throughout the book, but one of the things I really love that he talks about is this idea that there are far more activities, opportunities in the world, and this goes for us in our business world, than we will ever have the time, the resources to invest our energy in. And so I think we do ourselves such a service if we can accept that and then start to create some stop doing goals. What am I going to take off of my list so that I can focus all of my energy on these 2 to 3 goals? Hey, Eric, Pearlie, nice to have you. And I see Lisa as well. Nice to have you all. You guys are quiet. Let me know if this is clicking and resonating. So my invitation to everyone this week is to take a look at all of your current goals, at your current focus, and to really get clear on how many do you actually have. Is it 2 to 3 or do you have 14? And where is there an opportunity to kill a few of those babies off? And I'd get curious as well. Are you setting goals? Are you giving yourself a laundry list of goals of to-do items because it feels good, because that busy work feels good? Is it a way to buffer? Is this an addiction? I think for a lot of us who are high achievers, I think we can lean into that workaholism space. Raising my hand from someone who's had to do a lot of work around this. And I think in that way, when I say buffering, I mean it's a way we avoid. So an alcoholic might buffer their feelings or their emotions or things they have to deal with in life by drinking, and they create an addiction that way. Someone else might buffer their emotions and things that are uncomfortable or they don't want to deal with food. Someone else might buffer with TV. I think for high achievers, we can buffer with busyness, with overworking, with too many goals. And again, this is a form of self-sabotage, you better believe it, because it's a way to distract ourselves from what doesn't feel good. It's a way to distract ourselves. I mean, we talk about needing silence and space and how important having that free time, and we want freedom, and just how important, I think for everyone, but particularly as entrepreneurs, that white space, that time to ideate and to not be crowded with ideas is, but that can be really uncomfortable for some of us. So just again, we want to take a look at where are we using goals as a form of buffering? How are these maybe an addiction? The Patty Project says, so how do we acknowledge busy work versus true goals? So I think I think a great way to acknowledge, I totally knew what you meant, Patty. I think a great way to start to acknowledge the difference is the intention behind it. So there's a big difference between doing something because it feels good, because it's feeding our ego, because we don't actually feel comfortable sitting in silence, because we're afraid if we don't do this, that we're not going to get results, or that if we don't do this, like the whole world is going to fall apart. If there's a lot of should attached to a goal, I think we can get clear that might be some busy work. And I think we can also take a look at what is that goal giving us. So for example, here's I think a good example. There's a big difference between I have a goal that I'm going to reach out to 3 new people and talk about my product or service this week. And maybe that feels a little uncomfortable and there's some fear in that, and I'm putting that off, versus I have a goal that I need to tweak my website branding and colors one more time when I've already done that 15 times, or I need to find the perfect Instagram image, or I need to tweak the little squares on my Instagram, what do you call that, the layout, and I think that's where we start noticing busy work. Is this goal, what's the intention behind it? Is there a fear or a limiting belief that's underneath it? And what's the result? Is this actually going to move my business forward? Is this goal tied to a result? So reaching out, while it might be uncomfortable to potential clients, we can absolutely see how that's tied to a result, versus tinkering on our website for another 6 hours. I mean, I don't know that I'm guessing most of us don't need to tinker on our websites ever again, or at least not anytime soon, and that's not what's causing or not causing the results in our business. The Patty Project says, LOL, haha, yes, avoiding my actual goal. Exactly. So is the 10th, 11th, 12th goal, is that just a really comfortable way? Is that something that feels good so that I can avoid, yes, exactly, the actual goal, the thing that's uncomfortable, the thing I know I actually need to do to move the business needle forward? And I think when we start to look that way, we start to notice there's usually only a few things. Business isn't that complicated. It's not that complicated. It's very simple. That doesn't mean it's easy, and that doesn't mean there isn't a whole bunch of mindset stuff to work through. Usually we can see there's usually only a few things we need to actually do to move the business needle forward. I'm just seeing over here if we have any comments. I don't see any, though on Facebook I know they pop up a million hours late. So that's how we can tell, I think, the difference between, is this a real true goal I need to focus on, or is this a distraction avoidance goal because I'm scared, because I don't want to do the scary thing? And sometimes we can have multiple goals that will get us to where we want to go, but we just don't. Time is a limited resource. Time and focus is a limited resource. Where we focus our energy, that's what we're going to get back. So we can also find we have 6 goals that would all move our business forward, but can we really give 100% to 6 goals and get results from 6 goals? No, no. And so I think then we also want to take a look at those and see, okay, so where can I pare down? What do I need to stop doing? If it's just a clarity and trimming and weeding out and stop doing goal, if it's not because of avoidance or fear or limiting belief, I just have too much on my plate, where do I need to weed out of my garden a bit so that I can focus on what I'm really good at, what I know works, and just decide this is what I'm focusing on. And I think a good example of this is, we'll use social media platforms as an example. You can't possibly be on every social media platform, every online space and do it well. You can't be on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Pinterest and LinkedIn and email marketing and whatever, Snapchat, whatever else there is. You can't possibly be on all of those and do them well and get results from all of them well. And if you try to, you're going to burn out and you're going to do all of them kind of meh. But if you decide to be really brave and courageous and pull a few of those weeds out and say, I'm focusing on two of these, one of these, you're going to find you get exponentially better results. Does that make sense, Patty? And everyone else who's listening? But I think that's a very long-winded answer to that question. Hey, Kenta, nice to have you. How's Germany? I think I read a post that you are in Berlin, which is pretty amazing. And I'm having like side tangential conversations. I probably have some people I can connect you with in Berlin. So remind me of that off of the Facebook Live. So going back to these goals, taking a look at our goals, list out everything you're focusing on right now. I think it's a really interesting exercise to brain dump. How many things am I trying to do? How many goals do I actually have right now? And I think within a big goal, we do have micro goals and steps, but how many big goals do I have? Hey, nice to see. Who do I have here? Curation Consulting. Oh, and the Patty Project says, awesome, I get it. Yes, totally. Yay, I'm glad this makes sense. Dump them all out and just see for yourself. How many things am I trying to focus on? How many balls am I trying to juggle on the air? And then I think it's a really fascinating exercise to list them in priority order. In priority order for you, what do you love doing? What's most important to you? What are you most excited about? Because that means you're probably going to show up and do it. And what's actually a goal that's linked to getting you results. So maybe you love tinkering on your website. Maybe that's like the most exciting thing in the world. But if you've been doing that for the last 4 months, is that really something you need to spend any more time on right now? No. Really, I'm going to tell you right now, no. And so I think that's a great way to start to look at these goals, narrow way in, see, okay, these are some stop doing goals. This can go off my list and you can bookmark it. You can do it later on. This can be when I have some free time. And then also take a look at what on this list, maybe what am I avoiding, or what am I even avoiding putting on here because I've been scared to do something, because I've been scared to take action on that thing I know will move my business forward. And I've created a bunch of busy work because I didn't want to focus on that thing I know I need to do. How can I remove some of the busy work so I can make this one of my priority goals? And so I think this week, my invitation to all of you this week is to look at what can you stop doing to move your business forward? What goals can you stop doing and take off your list? And is there a scary priority goal, maybe something you've been avoiding doing because you have so much on your business list that you want to add and bump up on that priority list? So I hope that's been helpful. I feel like I threw a whole lot in here today and we went off on a few tangents, but I think this is important. This is something, again, I just see come up so often with my clients because they are high achievers. And I think it's a way that a lot of us who are driven really can get in our own way and keep ourselves from getting those results we want. So really would invite everyone to take a look at this. And I promise, if you're disciplined, and I don't love that word, but I think it works well here. If you're disciplined with yourself here, you'll really start to see those results in your business because of the way you're narrowing and focusing. And it just forces us to get out of our own way and face some of those fears, and those things are uncomfortable. And that's exactly where we grow. All right, the Patty Project says it was great, definitely resonates with me. So happy to hear it resonates with you. Before I go, I almost forgot. For those of you who are interested, on Wednesday, I have a free masterclass. We have this month's free masterclass. I'm super excited about this one, you guys. You all, not you guys, we've got women here as well. We are going to be digging into mastering a heart-centered sales call that sells. And I think some of y'all who've been hanging out with me know I'm obsessed with sales as of kind of recently, but this is something I used to be not so obsessed with. I used to be kind of scared of. I think I wrote a blog this week about how I used to avoid sales calls and use a script. And so I want to talk with everyone here. We're going to have a big conversation around sales calls, how beautiful I think they are. The last 2 clients I booked actually cried on our sales call, and I think that just speaks to how heart-centered sales calls truly can be, how powerful and beautiful and transformative they can be, and how they don't have to be icky, sleazy, gross, yucky, pushy. We don't need to come from a desperate place, and we don't need to use a script. However, I do think there is some strategy, some method to the madness, some things we want to think about on a sales call if we want it to not only be heart-centered, but also convert into those paying clients that we all want to grow our business, and so that we can talk about our work in a way that makes sense to the person on the other side. So I'm really excited about this. It's completely free. Instagram, there is a link in my profile. Facebook, there's a link. If you go up to the top of the page, there's a link there, and I'll pop another link inside the feed as well. And that's on Wednesday. So be sure to sign up for that. And I'm really, really excited. So I hope you all will join me for that. And then I'll be back next Monday. We'll have another live. We'll have another topic that we will dig into. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. It's so much more fun when we have a conversation around this. So thank you for chiming in, for being here. Have a beautiful week. Set some stop doing goals and set some priority goals that actually matter and move your business forward. Kick some ass this week. Lots of love, y'all. Bye. I'm going to end here. Bye, besties and bosses. Thank you for hanging out.